Hey, it's Greg Brown, the storyteller, poet laureate of aviation. Grab your logbook, 'cause it's time for another flying carpet cockpit adventure. I'm an aviation author, photographer, former National Flight Instructor of the Year, and Barnes & Noble Arizona Author of the Month. The flying carpet is a single-engine light airplane in which my wife Jean and I travel the North American continent, searching behind clouds for the real America. Learn more at my website, gregbrownflyingcarpet.com, where you can also see photos from most episodes. You know, there's been a lot in the news lately about the possibility of extraterrestrial life visiting from other planets, other galaxies, and whether the government has been covering it up. And many reports have been revealed of sightings in various environments, a lot of them from airplane cockpits. So I received a message the other day from my friend Chuck Lazinski asking a group of us if we had ever experienced unidentified flying objects, or even beyond that, extraterrestrials, in the course of our piloting. So I was reminded of something that happened to Jean and me years ago, an experience we had in the flying carpet. You might call it flying carpet meets flying saucer. So climb into the flying carpet, buckle up your seat belts, and prepare for takeoff on Flying Carpet Podcast number 35, Flying Saucer, Short Flights and Strange Lights. Clear prop. "What's that light in the sky?" asked Jean. I looked back over my shoulder and my jaw dropped. Near the horizon, a blinding beam projected downward as if from an alien saucer. We were flying downwind in Falcon Field's traffic pattern near Phoenix, practicing night landings in pitch darkness. "Could it be from a tall crane?" I asked Jean, mystified. "Seems too high above the ground for that," she said. "Maybe it's a police helicopter using a floodlight." Refocusing on my next landing, I completed another circuit before looking again. This time on downwind, the bright light was gone. In its place, a fluorescent, colorful squiggle zigzagged across the jet-black sky. "Looks almost like a thunderhead," I said, "illuminated from behind." "Sort of," said Jean, "but I've never seen one in total darkness before. Can the sun illuminate clouds so long after nightfall?" No hint of sunlight remained in the sky. "Good question. It would take mighty tall clouds to be sunlit after dark like this." I again focused on landing, this time to a full stop. Even before those strange lights appeared, the evening had been memorable. That afternoon, the flying carpet had been beckoned skyward by fair weather clouds, like lures calling to fish. "Shall we fly to Payson for dinner?" I proposed to Jean on a whim. While only 50 miles from our then suburban Phoenix home airport, Payson lies a sleepy world away in the next valley. Solitude may be found there among cool pines of the high country. I'll admit to surprise when my wife consented to join me for such a frivolous adventure. For Jean, tennis or gardening usually hold more charm than flight without a specific purpose. Most of our voyages are longer ones, pursuing clearly defined missions. Even I felt a small twinge of guilt. "Hope this isn't silly," I said to Jean in the car. "By the time we get to the airport, pre-flight the plane and tie down at Payson, we could almost have driven there. Ah, she said, but that's not why we're going, is it? No, I laughed. Frankly, I couldn't believe my excitement over this small excursion. For once, neither packing nor laborious flight planning were required. There was no hurry to get anywhere, nor distant weather to fret about. Would you like to fly, Jean? I'd love to, she replied, and launched us smoothly into sapphire skies. Immediately we knew we had done the right thing. Legions of emerald mountains drew our eyes to the horizon, while contrary to its name, the Verde River glided silver blue beneath us. Following the beeline highway through its pass, we threaded Mazatzal mountain summits, gilded golden by sinking sun. On the other side, we banked northward toward sprinkled glitter, the windows of Payson sparkling amid tall pines from across the Tonto Valley. Tuning the radio, we were greeted by an automated weather broadcast. As always when approaching Payson, Jean and I reminisced about the simpler times when Unicom was answered by the short-order cook working the airport diner. In those days, winds and active runway were broadcast to the crackle of frying eggs, and pilots could reserve a table and order breakfast while inbound for landing. Payson Airport is a peaceful place, except for weekend mornings in summertime when fly-in aviators congregate over omelets. Touching down in the blush of waning sun, we joined one other lonely airplane on the ramp and climbed hillside stairs to the restaurant. There Jean and I dined overlooking the runway, to the tune of teen waitresses giggling in the kitchen. I've never liked that old cliché, $100 hamburger, I observed to Jean between bites of the customary airport fare. It sounds so wasteful, as if some lowly sandwich were truly the only justification for flying. She agreed. Although our dinner flight might loosely fit the $100 hamburger profile, today's aerial adventure had already far surpassed that stereotype. After eating, Jean and I wandered the deserted taxiway to Payson's fly-in campground, our hands clasped tightly under an indigo sky streaked with fiery clouds. Surprising how romantic a country airport can be at dusk. Remember the time we flew here with Don and Linda for dinner? Asked Jean, speaking of old friends. Tonight's sky reminds me of it. I do indeed, Jean. It was Don's birthday, wasn't it, in the heat of July? That's right, she said. Linda packed a gourmet picnic dinner complete with crystal and white tablecloth, even wine for those not piloting. Our faces brightened simultaneously at the memory of elegant sunset dining on grass near the runway. Strolling back to the airplane, we scanned fruitlessly for elk running the perimeter fence. They jump it sometimes, leading caravans of pickup trucks on madcap dashes across the airfield. But breaking the solitude this lovely evening were only birds singing from the surrounding pines. We launched from Payson just in time to watch a second sunset from aloft, then flew homeward into blood-red skies. Sparkling taillights guided us through the beeline highway's pass, and soon the glowing streets of Phoenix beckoned ahead like copper fabric under purple dusk. Game for some night landings? I asked Jean when the airport beacon came into sight. She consented, and after negotiating stop-and-go landings with the control tower, we flew our circuits in the radiance of those bizarre extraterrestrial lights. How brief our journey had been that evening, and yet how exhilarating. We could have driven somewhere for dinner, I mused to Jean while filling out my logbook, but we would have missed the whole wonderful evening. That's not entirely true, she replied, grinning. I agree that by driving we'd have missed the flying saucer, but finding a $100 hamburger would have been easy enough. To our surprise, that luminous mystery would be solved later that night on TV news. Incredibly, what we'd seen was the ignition and sunlit trail of a Minuteman missile launched from Vandenberg Air Force Base some 500 miles away on the California coast. Well, maybe we didn't see a flying saucer, but certainly it was an out-of-this-world experience. Thanks for riding along on today's Flying Carpet adventure. Find photos from most episodes at gregbrownflyingcarpet.com. While there, check out my aviation adventure book, Flying Carpet, The Soul of an Airplane, for which I was named Barnes & Noble Arizona Author of the Month. You'll also find my other aviation books there, and my Views from the Flying Carpet aerial photography available in fine art metal prints. Please support this podcast by sharing your favorite episodes on social media, posting reviews on your favorite podcast directories, and donating via gregbrownflyingcarpet.com. I welcome your feedback via my website, via my Flying Carpet Podcast Facebook group, or the fan mail link in your favorite podcast app. Finally, follow my social media sites by searching Greg Brown Flying Carpet, and consider joining my Student Pilot Pep Talk Facebook group. Thanks, Carter Olson, for the tagline. Music by Hannes Brown. See you next time.